You're listening to the UM3D podcast, where we explore fresh ideas and real-world experiences that shape how we teach and learn. Recorded in the podcast studio at McWhirter Library, we bring you conversations with educators and experts to help you design, develop, and deliver high-quality instruction.
Welcome to the UM3D podcast, where we explore innovation and excellence in teaching and learning at the University of Memphis. I'm your host, Lavonnie Perry Claybon, and today we're diving into a topic that's critical for every educator: digital accessibility. Starting spring 2026, state and local governments must ensure that all websites and mobile apps they provide or make us available are accessible. Ensuring that all courses are accessible will require all public colleges and universities to meet specific accessibility standards for their websites, online courses, and digital content. These changes are designed to ensure equitable access for all individuals, including those with disabilities. To help us understand what's changing and what faculty need to do to meet these requirements, we're joined today by Amanda Rodino, the Associate Director of Digital, Physical, and Communication Access at Disability Resources for Students. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the big picture. What exactly is happening in 2026, and why is this such an important shift for higher education?
Well, first, I need to start with some background of how we got here. State and local governments have been shifting to digital services. There's been increased litigation about digital inaccessibility. There's been calls from users, advocacy groups for needs for technical standards, and also just generally we need to have better alignment with the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA, when it comes to digital accessibility. So the Department of Justice, or the DOJ, I'll probably refer to them as that from here on out, solicited extensive public input from disabled individuals, advocacy groups, state, local governments, and web accessibility experts. The 2024 final rule issued by DOJ on Title II of the ADA requires state and local governments to make their websites and mobile apps accessible according to the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, known as WCAG, WCAG 2.1 Level AA. Because we're a public entity, the University of Memphis is required to comply with the final rule. Now, if you're not familiar with WCAG, it is a set of international web accessibility standards from the World Wide Web Consortium that ensures digital content is perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust for users with disabilities. We commonly use the acronym POUR, P-O-U-R, to remember these principles. So under the final rule, web content is defined broadly. It's defined as the information and experiences available on the web, like text, images, sound, videos, and documents. For a college or university, this includes websites, the LMS, PDFs, videos, forms, social media, and mobile apps. It applies to the entire institution. The compliance deadlines are April the 24th, 2026 for entities serving 50,000 plus individuals. We fall into that because of both the size of the state of Tennessee, but also the size of Memphis and Shelby County. And then it's April 26, 2027 for smaller entities.
Let's say I'm listening today to this podcast and I'm a faculty member or a student. Why is this shift so significant for me?
First, there are increasing numbers of students with disabilities that are entering higher education. The National Center for Educational Statistics reports that 21% of students have a disability. So at University of Memphis, we can roughly estimate that this would be about 4,600 students. If you think you've never had a disabled student in your class, I promise you've had a disabled student in your class. All of higher education has shifted to greater implementation of online e-learning technologies, especially since the pandemic. So there's more digital content that students engage with now. The U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights has entered into over 1,300 resolution agreements against public entities by individuals with sensory impairments, which include vision and or hearing loss. So for students with disabilities, timely access is critical, not only for their student success, but also for our legal compliance. Remediation takes time, and it often gets students out of sync with the course. So when we proactively plan for accessibility through universal design and learning, we make the course more accessible for all students, including those with disabilities.
Here's the real question that I'm sure that our listeners are asking. As faculty are designing online courses, where does compliance fit into the everyday decisions that they're making?
Well, I previously mentioned the acronym POUR, P-O-U-R, so let's talk about it first. The P stands for Perceivable. That means that information in the user interface components must be presentable to users in a way they can perceive. So, for example, alternate text descriptions need to be provided for visual information. Any media, including videos, podcasts, needs to be captioned. The O stands for Operable, and that means that user interface components and navigations must be operable. So, for example, if we're creating a document, we need to make sure that we've structured it with the appropriate headings. If we're creating a website, that it's got labels. Also, that I can interface with it via keyboard, that I'm not reliant on vision or the mouse to use it. The U stands for understandable. The information in the operation of the user interface must be understandable. So what does that mean? That we use plain language. We avoid the jargon, acronyms, things that I'm using a lot of today, that we rely on sans serif fonts, and also that we're very mindful of color contrast. And then the R stands for robust. The content must be robust enough that it can be interpreted reliably by a wide variety of users, including those using assistive technologies. So, for example, we want to make sure that it's able to be used with a screen reader or a magnifier, as well as able to be used on a mobile device.
What are some practical considerations from the core WCAG principles that you mentioned before as faculty members are designing courses?
These are the things that I would encourage you to consider. First, you need to choose accessible apps, resources, and platforms. We are responsible for everything that a student interfaces with. That would include third-party platforms and software that you may require your students to use. If you're unsure if they're accessible, ask the rep that you're working with for more information or consult with DRS. Also, use the accessibility checkers. These are available in Canvas and the Rich Text Editor, in Adobe Pro, and all Microsoft Office products. They will guide you through any of the changes that need to be made. You do not have to be an expert on digital accessibility because the accessibility checkers will do that for you. Make sure that you provide accurate synchronized captions for any media that you're using. Create alternate text for images or mark them as decorative if the information contained within the image is not critical to my understanding of it. Make sure that you utilize sans serif fonts. Those would be the ones like Arial, Aptos, Calibri that are more straightforward, don't have the cute twists and turns like a Times New Roman. Use headings to structure documents and avoid complex tables. Don't rely on color to convey meaning, and make sure again that you're ensuring that appropriate color contrast. You also want to use descriptive text for any hyperlinks, so when possible, avoid using terms like click here, learn more. Instead, if you want me to know more about UM3D, title the hyperlink UM3D.
A lot of great information, and faculty members might be saying, but I have older materials, Amanda. I have stuff that has been archived. What about those materials? How do these compliance standards fit into that scenario?
Well, DOJ allows limited exceptions for archived content, pre-existing social media posts, and password-protected documents, but active course materials must be accessible.
Preparing for April 2026 sounds like a big task. What should faculty do now?
Although the final rule and April 2026 deadline are new, our legal requirement to provide accessible course materials is not. I mention this because I'm hopeful that most of our courses are already accessible thanks to the efforts of UM3D and DRS, as well as the tools that we've made available to faculty. Here's what I recommend you do. Audit your courses. Identify any learning platforms, PDFs, videos, or interactive tools that need remediation. Replace anything that cannot be remediated with alternate materials that are accessible. Use the Canvas Accessibility Checker to review your course content. Use Canvas Studio to provide captions and transcripts for media. Use Sensus Access to convert inaccessible PDFs to more accessible formats. Make sure that your hyperlinks have that descriptive text. Collaborate with DRS and UM3D for training and support. And most importantly, start now. Don't wait until April.
You heard it, folks. Amanda said, start now. Do not wait until April. Amanda, thank you for sharing those tips and stressing that point. What resources do you recommend for faculty who want to learn more?
If you want to learn more about universal design in learning and teaching in terms of accessibility, some great resources are CAST. The website is just cast.org, as well as the University of Washington's Do It Center. They're just absolutely incredible. I also recommend that you use our campus experts, who are wonderful. So reach out, connect with UM3D, DRS, OIE, and university libraries.
Thank you, Amanda, for sharing this wonderful information today. Accessibility isn't just about checking compliance boxes. It's about building a learning space where every student can thrive. Amanda, is there an additional thought that you'd like to leave our audience with on digital accessibility and compliance?
As we think about this, I encourage us to all remember our university's commitment to a successful outcome for every student. Utilizing universal design and planning for accessibility is a great way to support this. I also am going to give you 3 action steps. 1, run your videos through Canvas Studio. 2, use the accessibility checker in Canvas. 3, reach out to DRS and UM3D. Remember, we're here to support you. This is a group effort.
Thank you, Amanda. You heard it, folks. Faculty, start reviewing your course materials now. And reach out to the UM3D team or the DRS team for support. We're here for you. For additional resources, check the links in our show notes. As always, thanks for listening to the UM3D podcast. Join us next time. Until then, keep designing with your students in mind.
Thanks for listening to the UM3D podcast. For more information, check us out at memphis.edu/UM3D.